Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're jumping back on the AT-1 to CT-1 project. We've got it here behind me. It's been sitting in the barn for a little while. It's a little dirty, but we've got the fenders ready for it, so we're going to get the fenders on. Like I always say, the stuff is safer on there than it is laying around the shop waiting on somebody to bump into it, which would be me, and knock it on the floor and scratch it. So we're going to try to get as much of it back on the bike as we can. Not sure how far we'll get, but we're going to try to get the fenders on and maybe some cables and a few other little odds and ends. So come along, let's see what we can get done with it. Okay, let's just take a quick look at it here. Nothing real special about it. Just we had an AT-1 and we turned it into a CT-1. We even used CT-1 cases. I've got the fender painted for it, the back fender and the front fender. We can probably get the luggage rack on. Maybe a few of these cables. I've got a couple on there already. Like I say, it's been sitting in the barn for a while, and I had to bring it in and wipe the bird poop off of it. But I think all in all, it fared pretty well. So I guess the first thing we need to do is prep the fenders. I've got the front one over here along with the tail light bracket. I'm going to go ahead and get the rubbers installed and try to get the hardware all together so we can take it over and start installation. Just a little update on the TS250 pan. There it is after it's dried. You can see the patch there in the middle. And you can see the patch on the back side there, but you've got to look for it. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll be getting back on that pretty soon and starting to build the seat up on it. I've also got the pan over here for the AT-1 to CT-1, and I had already done some work on it. Looks like I welded up a crack here. A couple little other places here where I had some. These are a lot thinner than the Suzuki pan, but you know, if they're treated properly, they're just strong enough. But yeah, I've just gone through a few. This one actually was pretty good. It had just a couple of cracks in it. So I'll be probably pour 15ing the top, and then I'll paint the base on it. And we'll be building a seat for it also. All right, first thing we're going to do is install all the rubber insulators into the fender. We've got the 4 here and 1 in the back. And, you know, these are not a lot to them really. It just, you just got to push them in. And I actually get these from, you get a kit for them on eBay. I believe the guy is Moto Dad. So he sells little kits for all this hardware, and it really is nice. Okay, got that one in, and we'll get our little spacer in there, and then I'm going to start putting them in here on the side. I'm going to get me some goop and makes it a little easier. Like I say, he puts a lot of work into designing his hardware kits, and he even gives you a little instruction sheet on to tell you where each little piece goes with it. I'll show you here in just a second. I imagine most of you are familiar with him. He sells a lot of hardware kit, and kits and that sort of thing on there. But you know, he's got all the little spacers and the rubbers. And if you'll look over here, here's all the hardware that's going to go into mounting the fender. And he even gives you a little parts list here showing what size they are, what they are, steel spacer, flat washer, whatever, inside fender at grommets, inside grommets, so on and so forth. So he's put a lot of work into it, and it's very good quality. Okay, I think I've got it kind of mounted up here. So just kind of give it a tighten these up here that I've got on the inside. All right, had to tighten these up, but they're underneath. And then these slide up here underneath the fork tubes. You kind of got to compress it a little bit. There's a little tit that there snaps into, and then you've got the bolts that hold it right here. You've got this top one is that little tit I'm talking about, goes into a hole, and then the bolt actually goes into the front one. I'll give you a little more view there. You got a couple. There's actually the nuts are captive. In the fender bracket there. And I'm going to kind of leave all this loose until I get all the brackets on. I believe those go like that. I'm going to double check that. So these, yes, it goes like that, but this piece goes on the inside. And it's a captive nut also. But these, they look like they go on the outside, but I don't know. I think that's how it's going to go. I wouldn't think they'd want tension on it. Every time I do this, I have to look, but it looks like that's correct. They go on the inside. Although I didn't think that the book really looked like it was telling me to do that, but I believe it does. Just like that. These are getting kind of hard to find, these front fenders, because everybody took them off and put low or put high fenders on in the day, and they probably just threw those away. So some of these are getting to be pretty expensive if you're looking for them. Just like anything, I guess. All right, that all looks correct. Let me get those tightened up. So that's all tightened up now. We can run our brake cable up through the stay. And we'll be putting the speedometer cable in there also. So looks pretty good. So let's go to the back fender now. See where we're at on that. First thing we've got to do is mount the little brackets here. They go right here on the fender. Can you see that? No. These little brackets here will mount right here. So we'll get those mounted on. And the mud flap on the front. And then I think we can just slide the front or the rear fender in and go ahead and mount it up. Okay, we'll go ahead and get our grommets in here. And I find it a lot easier if you put a little, I use Ruglide, same stuff I use to mount tires, but just some soapy water would do just fine. And of course those are going to be I think maybe I need to get them on there so I can handle, I can hold on to them better. Let me do that. Let me get a rag. All right, yeah, I think it'll be easier to hang on to if I do that. These just take a Phillips screw and on the back side a lock washer and a nut. And we had to paint all that. These brackets are the same as the fender as far as color goes. So yeah, it's just a little soap and water, or like I said, I use the Ruglide. It just helps you get those rubber grommets in there a little bit better. That one, yeah, it's kind of not quite in on the back side. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to leave these loose. I mean, they're snug, but they're not tight until I've got it in there. Sometimes you have to move those a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and get this, the flap on the front. This kind of goes over that. I guess all these do. They've got a little boss there that's got to go into, and then you get your little bracket on there, and on the middle one you have just a Phillips screw and a washer that screws right into the captive nut on the fender. And then the other two will have bolts go through them through the frame. So let me get you over there and let's see if we can get this on. Okay. It's kind of a snug fit. You can see here why you leave these loose in the back, because I've already had to tilt it a little bit. And these, you've got a long bolt that goes on the inside, or through the frame here, and on the inside where those rubber grommets are, you've got this this shouldered nut and a big washer. And again, that's a good place to use some soap and water. Just kind of put it on the the shoulder nut here so that it can find its way into that grommet that we just put in. And that's being a pill. There, I think I got it in there. Let's see, this I think needs a lock washer on it also. And I think it started. Let me get a wrench. Okay, I've got both of the ones in the back started, and we've just kind of got to push this up a little bit, and I think these will start. Okay, I think that one's going. So let me see if I'm lucky on the other side. Same thing, looks like gotta kind of push it up. And where's my nut driver? Over here. Yeah, looks like we did okay with that one too. Now by leaving that loose, I've got to get in here and tighten that, and I probably won't be able to get a screwdriver in there. I'll have to get a little bit on my 1/4 inch ratchet. I can probably get one in there, but I won't be able to really tighten it up. Yeah, I'm just going to tear it up. Let me get a bit for that. All right, I'm going to use my 3/8 and a good JIS there. I think we're good. I think a 1/4 inch would have rode up on that. So, get this one tightened up. And on the other side. And then we can do our final tighten up here on the back. Okay, that collar on the back is 17 millimeter. Now, since we left these loose, we're going to need to tighten them now. So, not a big deal there. They've got lock washers on them, so all we need is our end wrench to get behind there, and our JIS screwdriver. Okay. Not too bad a job. So all the fenders are on, where they're more or less protected. And I think I'll go ahead and get the taillight prepped, and then we'll put that on. Okay, got to remove these in order to get the rack on. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Just they should be positioned okay. I've got the taillight pretty well situated there. It looks like I'm going to have to loosen up the muffler just a little bit. So let me get a wrench and do that. Okay. Looks like that's not going to be a big deal. Just had to loosen it a little bit on the other side in order to get that side of the, right here. I had to loosen this, actually this one and this nut here in order to get that down in there. So looks like it's all got to be moved forward a little bit. So maybe I've got a little more to do yet. I don't think I have signal lights for this bike. I may have, I don't know. I may have to end up taking these off again, but as of right now, no lights. Okay, making some headway. Let's finish this back end up with our little reflectors. And I'm going to go ahead and put the carburetor on. It's laying here, so just as well get it done. I know this box is closed up. I don't know whether there's a filter in it or not, but it's usually easier to to slide everything in. This boot down here kind of slides into the bottom of this. I think it slides over the filter is what it does. Yep. And we've got one in there. And we need to find a O-ring for that thing. I should have them. There it is. Keep all my carburetor O-rings in here. I think this one actually you can still get from Yamaha, but a lot of them you can't. So it's just good to have a, anytime that I need one, I measure them up and I order them from McMaster Car. Because Yamaha wants, I think, I don't know, a ridiculous price, like $4 or $5 for an O-ring, and I'm not into that. That's too much money for something like that. I mean, sometimes you have no choice, but with an O-ring, you know, the only problem with McMaster is you've got to buy 10, I think, but it's sure cheaper than getting them from Yamaha. All you gotta do is measure them up. I really don't want to pull that out, but my fat hand is in the way here. There. If I can get this all raised back up, I've got my gasket in there. There. It's kind of tight. Finally got that thing started. And you want to go back and forth on these carb bolts while you're tightening, so you don't end up breaking a flange off the carburetor. It's slow that way, but it's the way to do it. Okay, I think we're good there. Now on these filters, it's just easier to put the boot on first. Get your little spring clamp up here. This, by the way, is a KDI filter from Dave out in California, KDI Industries. You just cannot find a Yamaha one anymore, and now you don't need to. Like a perfect replacement for it. I'll go over there and see if I can get that boot pulled up around the carburetor horn. And I always put that on without the clamp because it's much easier. You can take the clamp apart and get it back on there. Keeps wanting to slide out of the air cleaner, so I'm going to attach it here first and then mess with the air cleaner. Okay. Carburetor, I did a video overhauling it. a lot of this, I haven't worked on this bike in a long time, so it's, you know, I just need to kind of get back on it a little bit. And like I said, I just like to get all the fenders and stuff on. They're just safer there. Okay, I think I'm going to get a lever on maybe, or the levers on. I think this is kind of coming up in the right place. Sometimes these things like to get behind the stop here if you don't watch it till you get them routed right. It's really just wanting to get there too. I'm gonna have to figure this out. Well, I think I've got it. It's just gonna take some maneuvering around when we start putting the tank and stuff in. I think it'll stay back here once everything else is in there. But they like to get between the stop on the triple tree and the frame. And, you know, of course, if it gets in there and gets caught, then it is going to want to dent the outer cable, which is no good. Okay. We've got a close adjustment there. Oh. Oh boy. Did you see what I did? I put the front brake cable over here. That's probably why nothing is working right. Oh boy. What a poop head. Let me get this swapped out. Yeah, I didn't realize what I'd done until I started pulling on the cable, and I go, man, that clutch doesn't feel right. Of course it didn't. Had the brake cable over here. There, that feels better. Okay, and that everything goes right now because it's not trying to pull it back this way. Sometimes you just gotta step back and look at what you're doing, I guess. I kind of like, even if I'm moving these bikes around by hand, I like having at least a front brake. Well, a little grease on this when we're putting it together here. And I really don't think this model, I'm kind of loosely basing this on a 70, and it would not have had the front brake light switch, I don't think. I think that's something that probably came around 71. But it ain't gonna hurt anything to have it, and I'm not looking for originality, so I think it'll just be fine. Yeah, that works like a front brake should. Get that up there a little ways. All right. And prep the speedo and the tack cable. These are new ones. I got them from KDI. All the cables came from them. You can get a complete package at a pretty good price, I think. He sells on eBay, so you can pick them up there. Just give it a little grease before you put it in there. And the same with the speedo. Just a little grease, doesn't take very much. And of course the tack is just going to go right in here. Okay, so that's up here where it belongs. It'll actually run kind of like this, I think. It comes underneath where the tank goes. And now we'll go around and get the brake cable, or the speedo cable rather. And of course you need a O-ring on the down here, and I'm just using one out of my little kit from Harbor Freight, and I'm going to put just a little bit of grease on it, help get it in there. And I'm going to have to look. I think I've got a keeper for this, but I haven't seen it yet, so let's see, this has got to go in here, and I think it goes behind, so kind of like that. Of course, this is wanting to drop out of there. And then you just kind of turn it up here at the other end until you feel it stop, because of course the wheel's not moving. So. Okay, it's kind of started in there. I'm going to usually have to get a little screwdriver and a plastic hammer to kind of pop it in there. Of course, I've got to find my plastic hammer. And let's see here. Right here. So you can just take, there. And the little keeper just goes over the cable there and snaps into the groove, of course. I don't know, maybe that goes the other way. We'll put it up like that. So I'll find the keeper, or worst case scenario, I'll order one. I used one the other day on the AT-90 twin. That may have been the one I needed for this, but they're all the same. So if you can't get it for the 90 twin, you can get one for a 125 or 175 Enduro, and it will snap right in there. All right, I think we're maybe about where we're going to be for the day. I'm thinking maybe that's about all I can do right now. Okay guys, I think that's about all we can do today. Maybe I'll get back on it tomorrow. Rest assured we'll get back onto something. I've got this pan to work on, and then the other pan we can start building for the Suzuki. So today we got the fender and the rear fender, tail light, luggage rack, front fender, carburetor, couple of cables. That's about it. Looks like we're into having to rework the wiring harness for this one, and as well as the TS250. So we've got wiring things to sort out. I still need to paint the headlight ears and the headlight, and of course the tank. The tank's ready to paint. All that stuff's ready to paint. So I just need another day that the wind's not howling and it's really not too cold, so I can crank up the heat in here and paint. The good thing is everything that we've got to paint is Yamaha candy green, so we'll be painting at least one color. However, it is base coat clear coat, so it takes a lot longer. This was all single stage that we did on the fenders and the Suzuki gas tank. So I think that's about all we can do today, but it's certainly starting to look like a bike again, and we always like that when things start coming together. Okay guys, there you have it. We got quite a bit done on the AT-1 to CT-1 today. I've got front fender on, rear fender on, luggage rack, taillight bracket, couple, 2 or 3 cables, got the levers on. I think that's it. It's all stuff needed to be done, and we've got that out of the way, so I can start on the wiring harness, the seat, and I've still got paint to do. So someday that it's reasonably nice and not a lot of wind, then I can possibly go ahead and get that painted. So it'll be, hopefully I can get everything painted for this and the 125 MX. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.